You say you haven't been the same since you had your little crash, but you might feel better if they gave you some cash. The more I think about it, old Billy was right. Let's kill all the lawyers, kill them tonight. You don't want to work, you want to live like a kid.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, hey, man. What you got there?
Happy St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patty's
All
Day.
right.
You know, two minds working a lot. I've got this as well. This is our continuing podcast series, Two Marks and...
Or 2 marks, 1 mark.
Oh, 2 marks, comma, 1 mic.
There you go.
We have been talking the last several episodes about the court system, about General Sessions Court and how that's people's court. Circuit Court, that's typically where you go for a jury trial. And today we're going to close out our discussions about the court systems with Chancery Court. Chancery Court is a court personally I have not appeared in probably in 15, 20 years, really.
Well, Chancery Court, the differences in these courts, Circuit Court and Chancery Court, actually goes back to Old English law. You had courts that addressed remedies that were actually found in the law.
Yeah, where actually there is a statute
Right.
codified. You can or cannot do this, and you sue or you make a claim under that law.
Based on
That's
the statute, based
right.
on the law. So
Right.
there were courts of law, and then there were courts of equity, where there were these courts that where the law didn't really address, but somebody was entitled to a remedy. There was a Chancery Court or a court of equity that was created to address those issues where there wasn't really a remedy under the law. So
Well,
that's how these
Yeah,
courts
and,
started.
and the chancellor is given in a court of equity. It basically comes down to the chancellor deciding what is fair,
Right.
what is right on these particular set of facts with these particular set of parties. You know, what would be a fair and just remedy that you might not find under the law, but still you can have a case in front of the judge that might fall outside what is normal.
So what has really happened over the years is really most of the jurisdiction that's in Circuit Court and Chancery Court, they really have concurrent jurisdiction. They can really hear almost all the same types of cases, just about all types of
Right.
cases. However, there are a few types that really are exclusively heard in Chancery Court, and there's some that have what we call concurrent jurisdiction with Circuit Court, but really tend to be more in Chancery Court, at least locally, than Circuit Court.
And the first one that comes to mind that might have some sort of relevance out there to our listeners and viewers are property disputes, land disputes, where you have maybe a dispute with your neighbor about where the property line is
Right.
on your property, right?
Right. So boundary disputes are causes of action that are really heard in Chancery Court, not heard in Circuit Court.
Right.
So that's something that is exclusive
Yeah.
to Chancery Court.
And I think that was my last time in Chancery Court, actually. Just brought to my memory, I was going to church one night on a Wednesday, and there was some guy in my yard. We had a fence with him out in shadows, and there was a fence across our property, and there was some stranger in my yard with a chainsaw. And this man was cutting down trees in my yard.
Right.
And just like
Well,
he was and so I walked up to him, I said, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He goes, "I'm cutting down some trees." I said, "Well, yeah, you're doing that in my yard." He goes, "No, sir, this is not your yard."
Well, that's a prime
What the
example
heck?
of where a boundary dispute
Absolutely.
Should be heard in Chancery Court. But really most relevant to there's other types of things, like a lot of the property tax cases are in Chancery Court. There are other types of cases that are specific to Chancery Court, but there are a few that do arise in the context of our type of practice, personal injury type of practice, where we do have some involvement with Chancery Court. And the first thing that comes to mind is if we represent somebody who's either killed in an automobile accident
Mhm.
or dies while litigation is
You're right.
pending,
You're right.
and an estate needs to be opened.
Absolutely right.
So probate court is something that's exclusively a part of Chancery Court. In some of the larger jurisdictions, for example, Shelby County over in Memphis, they have their own probate courts where that's all they hear, but that is a part of their Chancery Court
Right,
system.
right.
Here, our chancellors hear everything, including probate matters. So that's one type of thing that ends up in Chancery Court.
Right.
Other types of things that we may run across in our line of work is if we have somebody that's, for example, sustained a bad head injury, and they're not really competent,
Right.
Or there may need to be an adjudication of where somebody is competent.
Right.
Those competency type hearings are done in Chancery Court.
Okay, once again, the chancellor is the one to hear these cases because he's going to do what is in his mind right and just when it comes to taking away someone's right to manage their own money. For example.
Exactly.
He
Because
has to have proof that that they cannot manage their money, number one, and that the person that wants to manage their money is going to do a fair and equitable job doing it. Right.
that's exactly right. So he has the discretion.
Right.
You can understand now why there's not really a law that says this person is competent or not competent.
Right.
But that's something that equity requires
Yeah.
the chancellor to take a look at and make that determination of whether somebody can really handle their own
Yeah,
affairs.
very good point.
And that
Very good
occurs in
point.
Chancery.
You're right.
There are other things that we also see occurring in Chancery Court that could also be done in Circuit Court. But there are things like something that is strictly in Chancery Court. If you had to have somebody removed as a trustee, for example, again, similar to the competency matter, even though a trustee may be competent, somebody may challenge whether a trustee should be a trustee, in Chancery Court would hear that.
Okay.
type of thing.
Right. Okay. That's
So-
interesting stuff right there.
So those are the main things that really that Chancery Court handles that are part of the type of practice that we do. Like I said, there are many other things. For example, a
Breach of contract.
breach of contract. Good example right there, Mark. Breach of contract is something that can be heard in either court, but we typically see that in Chancery Court.
Yeah, because we want the judge to, just decide between two parties what is fair and what is right, and that's really why you're in court in the first place, because the two parties can't decide how to interpret this contract or what is necessary under the contract, and so you go before a chancellor and let him decide after hearing testimony.
Yeah, that's typically one that we find, at least locally, would occur more in Chancery Court than in Circuit Court.
Right.
So there are those types of actions that really tend to be more in Chancery Court that could be in Circuit, and then there's causes of action that are exclusive to Chancery Court.
Sure.
Another example of a case that could be either place, something that we don't do, divorces, for example.
Right.
Chancery Court or Circuit Court. That's an example of what we call concurrent jurisdiction. However, we both know automobile cases, personal injury cases, those can't be done in Chancery Court.
No, got to be done in either General Sessions Court, and if you want a jury trial, Circuit Court.
Exactly right.
And if you have any questions about General Sessions Court, Circuit Court, or Chancery Court, give us a call at Warren Griffin. This has been one more episode of the podcast, 2 Marks and
One mic, or 2 marks, 1 mic.
We'll see you next time.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Get